But joining me now to discuss obesity and the obesity problem in this country, Tony Rosso is here, an obesity nurse and consultant, and from the National Obesity Forum, Tam Fry. Very good morning to both of you. Tam, it's a shocking piece of footage, that, isn't it? Yeah. A man who has been able to reach that size can only have got there by almost constantly eating, it would seem.
Well, he may have also not received the help early enough that he really did need. We don't know the facts, but I would assume that even as a child he was really quite fat.
Yeah.
And
you noted that his mother's not particularly thin either, which is often the case.
Not particularly. And what is so urgently needed is that we actually start to get to families who are in that situation at a very early age and educate them and educate the parents, educate all the people in the family as to really what should happen. Now, it won't happen overnight, but it's a progressive visiting from the health professionals, such as Ms. Russo, and educating and talking about food and good food and bad food and what they should be doing. And that hasn't happened. And it hasn't happened for the last 30 years. And so what's happening now is that we're reaping the rewards of 30 years of indolence on the part of the authorities, which is basically government, to actually address it. We really have to do that.
Right. Tony, looking at somebody that size, I mean, is it possible for him to become sort of what you might call a normal weight again?
It is, but I think realistically, even with the most dramatic weight loss surgery, not a single operation would get you sort of 100% of your excess weight loss, but certainly gets him small enough to be able to have a normal life and walk about and have a bit of quality of life. And
what about this Wegovy treatment? Because a lot of people are talking about it. You know, I don't think that many people understand it, Tony, first of all. I mean, is that something that could help somebody that size? And a lot of people have said to me as well, how do we get this Wegovy? Because lots of people seem to want it.
Well, that's a real problem with Wegovy. It was launched too early because the manufacturers didn't have enough stocks. It was launched, there were very good trials and showed that weight loss of 10, 15 more percent, and everybody went for it. And then you had also the problem of having people like Kim Kardashian and all the Hollywood set who wanted to be slim, and so they took it. So it was totally inappropriate use of a very powerful drug. And what actually worries me is that now people will think, okay, I can go into a store and I can buy it over the counter and I can take it. Not possible at all, because it's only for those who are already very obese.
So you can buy a version of it, can't you?
Yeah, you can buy.
I mean, I know people who have bought it.
You can buy Ozempic if you're rich enough and lucky enough. Go on the web and you can buy it. But if you take it without medical supervision and the constant attention of people like Tony, then it will go wrong. And now,
but that is the problem, Tony, isn't it? Well, because people are buying it.
There are 5% of people that the drug doesn't work for, and we don't know why. It's just luck. It comes in two forms. The drug's called semaglutide, and the lower dose version, which has been available in the UK for a while, is Ozempic, and that's for diabetics. And the higher dose is called Wegovy, which is the higher. And the Wegovy's only just been launched in the UK. So what was happening was doctors were prescribing Ozempic off license to people, living with morbid obesity. And then Kim Kardashian, people caught on and they thought, I'll just have this. And they could be people that are actually within the normal weight range, but they just wanted to get into a size 0 or something. And so the problem we have now is that you can't supply demand. You've got people that have stockpiled it and they're selling it at greatly inflated prices. People that are advertising on places like Facebook, where they're advertising a generic, and no such legal generic exists. So it's coming out of some lab in the back of somebody's garden. And people are buying it. But people are so desperate.
Isn't there supposed to be some kind of regulation for this kind of
thing? There is.
There is regulation.
And
doesn't sound like it.
I could go to France tomorrow, for example, if they had it in stock, and I could get it prescribed and bring it home. What I can't do is get somebody to post it to me from France, because the laws are very different. So you've got people crossing boundaries, and Turkey seems to have a lot of it. But we don't know if it's real.
So, I mean, if somebody is watching this now and thinks, oh, maybe I could do that, maybe I could go on Facebook and buy something and try it. And I mean, clearly it's not advisable, but it sounds like they can do that.
What they can do, you can go on the internet and you can go to one of the online pharmacies that are quite reputable, and you can fill in a questionnaire, and a prescriber will look at it and evaluate whether you're suitable or not and prescribe it for you. The problem is there's nothing to stop me going on and pretending to be my 55-year-old 20-stone uncle to get it in their name. That's a bigger concern.
So, Tam, do you just have to fill out a sort of an online form, effectively, and say, you know, I weigh however many kilos, 200 kilos or something?
It's a free market, and this drug is so powerful, it should be controlled. And what we're now starting to understand is that because it takes time for drugs to have their effect, to see if there are side effects, but there are now very worrying bits of literature coming out saying that you could get stomach paralysis and you could get pancreatitis. And these are serious conditions which you could attract. I'm not saying that you are going to attract it, but certainly it's there for people to get. If they have supervision, then they will be guided away from that. So don't do it on your own. Do it under.
And if you are to go to see a doctor to see if they can prescribe it for you, what criteria do you have to meet then?
Well, the doctor, if the doctor's going to prescribe it, you have to have a BMI of 35 or a BMI of 30 with a comorbidity like diabetes.
Not for Wegovy, actually. That's for weight loss surgery. 30 for Wegovy or 27 if you've got another health-related disorder. Weight loss surgery is rather stricter, so that's the high limit.
Right. But aren't we told that loads of people are now obese in this country? So presumably they all qualify.
A third of people in the UK.
Yeah. Well, that's 20 million, isn't it?
That's a huge number of people. And although the government is trying to establish clinics, it's put, this year it's put 48 million into clinics. It's going to take time for the clinics to get up to speed and for that to take effect. So they're doing something, but it's certainly not enough. And my beat is always prevention is better than cure. And so the government's got to think, OK, we've got to slim very fat people down to give them a better chance of having a normal lifestyle. But at the same time, we've got to go right back to the roots and stop the next generation becoming the same.
And you favour, because I've spoken to you, Tam, many times about this, more tightly controlled sort of foodstuffs being sold, salt content, sugar, all of that, right?
Oh, well, certainly a lot of work has got to be done. I mean, one of the biggest problems is the food that we eat is less than healthy, a lot of it. And that's excess of sugar, salt and fat. And so the government at the same time has got to take on the food industry that doesn't actually want any kind of regulation. But things have got so serious that the food industry has got to be told, you can have that amount of sugar in your product and that's enough. And we know that it now works because of the sugary drinks industry levy, where the government in 2016 said, you've got 2 years to sort yourself out. Everybody said, not going to work, they won't obey. 2 years, we had about 90% of our soft drinks low in sugar or minus sugar. The only two of the products were the original form of something like 36 grams of sugar in a bottle. And they wanted to keep that for the true aficionados, if you will. But everybody else followed.
It's a horrific level of sugar, though, isn't it? It's a horrific level of sugar that they put in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, they used to, anyway.
But now we've got 45% less sugar in the drinks that we take. And although it's going to take a bit of time, that will pass through. Everybody understands that that was a success. And actually, we've now got to extend that into foodstuffs. It's going to take a bit more time, but it's got to happen.
And Tony, do you share that approach? Do you think that's right?
Absolutely, I do. I mean, I think we've got children having children, and a lot of them have never seen any sense of normal budgeting or eating healthy foods. So certain councils, like Lambeth Council, for example, are trying to get kitchens set up whereby people can go along and cook with friends, see the social aspect as well, and learn how to cook healthy foods. A lot of people, it's very easy to judge and say you should go to the out-of-town supermarket and buy a bag of vegetables cheaply. But if you live on the third floor of a high-rise with a buggy and 2 and 3 children, you can't get to these places. And I mean, I worked as a community midwife some years ago, and I'd go into homes where people didn't have a cook or even a microwave. The luckiest thing they had was maybe a kettle to make a pot noodle. So you can educate people as much as you like, but if they haven't got the resources and the skills. And the other thing, we have to think about, why are people getting heavier? We've got issues with the changes of the food, which Tam has talked about. But also, we know there's something called the set point. So your body makes up its mind roughly what your weight should be, which is why you typically hear the story of someone that lost 5 stone and then they regained 6. That's very normal. And there's lots of research coming out to say there's undiagnosed ADHD, and that may be one of the reasons why people are getting heavy because they're looking for that dopamine hit.
Yes, interesting. Well, we could probably talk about this all day. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about it again, but thank you very much indeed, Tony Rousseau,